all video. So I'm recording now. So, feel free to, ask questions and stuff as usual. But I've started recording. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And as I said, I'm going to go over the assignment instruction first. And then we'll go over exporting video from After Effects and then publishing everything on the okay, so here's the animation page on our class site, and this is shared in the voice channel chat if you guys want to open this. And I'm just going to scroll down a bit down to our assignment. So we've been working on this animated words and emotions assignment. As usual, that's kind of a starting prompt. So if you have a different idea for what you want assignment, that's flexible. As long as you're using After Effects and it's 10 seconds long, and it's not just 10 seconds of like a color or something, you should be good. But if you're not sure, you can always show me what you've got so far and I can give you feedback on it. So we're going to make an animation, then we're going to export a file, which is what we're going to talk about today. We have a storyboard, and so we looked at storyboards last week, and we'll go over how to include that in your assignment today as well. And then for the assignment itself, it's pretty similar to the last two assignments we've done. You're going to upload your After Effects file to Blackboard. And remember to do that because I'm not going to be able to grade your assignment without that After Effects file. That's how I'm going to be able the layers and the keyframes and all that stuff that you added. So remember to do that, and I'll go over that in a bit. Then, of course, you're going to upload the storyboard file. So we'll go over that as well. And then you're going to create an Open Lab post with your final export of your video and a statement about the video. And there's a template for this statement as usual. So this one is just title, semester and year, software, and then a quick description about the project. So for this one, there's no citations in the template because unlike the Sound project and the Photoshop project, we haven't been using other sources in these demos. But if you do have images, like if you downloaded an image from one of the websites that we looked at, or like that, and you included that in your project, then you should add a citation. So use some other source materials, which is fine if you want. Just remember citation. And there's a link to the grading rubric here, but I'll also show it on Blackboard. Let's go over to Blackboard for a second, and I'll go into the student preview. And so when you're ready to submit, when you've published on the Open Lab, you're going to come over to Blackboard, go to the animated words and emotions assignment. You can see that it has the same instructions here. And if you want to look at the rubric, you can click on View Rubric, and this will open a new tab, and you'll see all the different requirements for the assignment and how much each. And this is pretty much the same as what we just went over, so I'm not going to go through each one of these, but if you have specific questions on these, we could go later. And then here's where you're going to attach your After Effects file. So we'll actually go over that in a little bit. So I'm going to do the export first. You can submit your link. Okay, so let's go over exporting the animation and publishing the Open Lab post for your animation, and then we'll come back here at the end. So I'm gonna go to my After Effects project, and so I already have this open. I'm just gonna open it up here, and I'm gonna go to my main composition. And so my main composition is just a bunch of random stuff. It's not very coherent. I'm just demonstrating technique. You know, this is kind of an example of some things that you might do, but hopefully your animation is a little more coherent. And I obviously, you know, I created a storyboard as an example, but I didn't really follow the storyboard because it was time during the demos to do all of that. So hopefully that is. But anyway, I have my animation and I'm ready to export it. And so this isn't too hard to do. You just want to select the composition in your project footage drop down thing over here, or your menu over here. So just select the composition that you're wanting to export. And then you can go to File, go to Export. There's a couple different options here. So if you want to do, there's Adobe actually created a separate piece of software for exporting media, Adobe Media Encoder, and you have a lot more advanced features there. I'm not going to use that today because it's more than what we really need to go over. But if you're creating media for, you know, YouTube or Instagram or projects, you may want to download that application because it's going to have default settings for all of the different platforms like YouTube or Twitter, or Facebook or whatever. And so that'll actually speed up your process a little bit because what those. But I'm just going to use the internal renderer. So I'm going to click Add to Render Queue. And normally that's going to bring up a render window. I think it's not for me because I was looking at earlier. Oh, there it is. It just took a second. I think my computer has thing too many programs. But there you can see it's added this to my render queue. And you can see my render queue actually, when I was testing this earlier, you can see the preview render. When you do this for the first time, you're just going to see one. And so there's a few settings here. Actually, let me see if I can delete. I want to go. Okay, so let's do that again. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. Take a second, but pop up on there. There it is. So when you see this, your settings may look a little bit different than mine, but they should look more or less the same. There's going to be some defaults. So the first thing to look at is the render settings. You click on that little blue text there. That's a button that's going to open up a new dialog. And you can kind of play around with these settings. So for a 10-second animation, we don't really have to worry too much about the size of the file. You had like a 10-minute animation, you know, a 30-minute animation, then you would start to want to play around with these settings to try to keep the file size reasonable. But we can stick with the quality setting to best and resolution full, and we really don't need to play around with any of these settings. So we can just leave that as is. Then for the output, this should probably look exactly on yours like it looks on mine, but you might have different defaults. So whatever you see here, so you could also just click on the blue. This will bring up this dialog window. Being kind of slow, but there we go. So the one thing you want to make sure to check is that your format here is H.264. That's kind of the standard format for video files that are going to be published on the internet, whether it's on a website or a platform like YouTube. There's other things in here that you would want to use if you were a film festival or, you know, making a higher resolution copy of something. But for the quality that we want for the internet, H.264 is going to be our best format. And then pretty much everything else on here you can ignore. We don't have audio, or, you know, you could add audio in here if you want to, but we didn't add audio in the demos. You don't really have to worry about the color. All of these defaults should be fine. Just make sure that the format is H.264. So then the last thing that you're probably going to have to set is the output. Mine, I've already used it as a test, so I already have something filled in here, but you're probably not going to see anything. What you're going to have to do is, let's see if I can, I'm not sure if I can make this go away, but you're probably not going to see anything here. So what you're going to want to do is click on this output dropdown and click on comp name. And so it's just going to set it to the name of the composition. If you want to set it to comp folder in name, it's going to add a folder there, but comp name is probably what you need. And by default, it's just going to go into whatever After Effects file is in. So that should be fine for most people. If if you want to change that, you can go to custom and you can create something here. But you should be able to just set this to the composition, and you shouldn't really. So once you're done with that, everything is ready to go. You just click the render button up here, and just make sure it's selected here. Just make sure you select that button there, and then click render. And this will take a second. I already did this, so it's saying it's going to overwrite a file. I'm fine with that, so I'm going to okay. So that really just, it's just going to take a second because it's a short uh, animation, although it's not really. There we go. Okay, it went a lot faster last time, but now I'm running Discord and yes. So anyway, there we go. There's our render. It shouldn't take too long. And once it's done, we're just going to go to the File Explorer and find our project folder. Go to MMP 100. Go to my animated emotions project. Here you can see now you have the MP4 file. You have your After Effects file. And we've got everything that we need to write our submission. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to go back to my browser, and I'm going to go to the Open Lab page here. And so now I'm ready to submit my assignment. So I need to make sure I'm logged in. I'm already logged in. So then I'll just click on this post button here. I can just click the plus button, and that will bring post. And so I'll call this my animation. And if you want to put the name here, you can. I called my animation Fight. And then I want to select a category. So I'm going to go over to categories and click animation. And now I'm ready to upload my video. So I'm going to click on the plus button here. And you can see one of the options by default is the video. If you don't see that, just type in video in type up and just click video. Then you can drag onto here, or you can click upload. I'm going to click upload. I'm going to go and find the video. So I'm going to go to my desktop, go to MMP 100, go to animated emotions. There's the MP4 file. So you're only going to see the files in this that are video files that you can upload. So I'm going to select my MP4 file and click open. You should see the MP4 file embedded in here. And we'll be able to play it once it's published on the Open Lab page. So now I'm ready to do my statement. I have my template right here. I could copy and paste, but I'll just type it in. So the title is right. The semester/year is spring. The software is After Effects. And I actually used Illustrator as well for because I threw that Illustrator self-portrait in there. So if you used other software to create other parts of your animation, make sure to mention that in the description. Of course, you don't have to use Illustrator, so if you didn't, that's fine. So then I just have a description. So I'm going to say I chose to so to do that, I added some spinning shapes and bouncing circles and the word right in a scary bit font. And I think that was pretty much it. I added my self-portrait in, but that was just an example. So just describe what you were going for and what what your goals were, if you want to talk about the process at all or anything sort of unique that you did, make sure to include that in there as well. We just want to and so you could also include your storyboard here if you want to. You don't need to. If you wanted to do that, you could add the image. So if I click image here and click upload, there's my storyboard. So I exported that as a JPEG after editing it in Illustrator. Again, you don't have to include the storyboard in the post if you submit it on Blackboard, but it might be fun to add that in there so people can see the process. And so there is my storyboard. And so once I've got my post set up, I should preview it first just to make sure everything looks good in the blog. And let's test the video file. So the video file works. Pretty frightening. And there we see the text and we see my storyboard. So once I'm happy with how that looks, I'm going to click on the publish button here and click publish again. And once that's done, it's going to give me the link to the post. So I can copy that link and I can also click view post if I want to look at the post. And this link is what I'm going to submit on Blackboard. You can always also just grab the link from here, from the browser bar if you want to copy it. And of course, if you need to make changes, you can just click the edit button at the bottom of the post, and that will bring you back to the editor. And there's the URL as well, so I can go back and look at it again and go back and forth. Actually, this goes into a new tab. I don't really understand. WordPress sometimes goes into a new doesn't. Not always sure when it's going to do that. But anyway, I've got my link. I'm going to copy this. And now I'm going to go back over to Blackboard. And so I looked at the assignment, I looked at the instructions, I looked at the rubric, I'm all ready to go. And so the main thing I want to do here is upload my After Effects file. With After Effects, one thing that you will need to be careful about is if you used only like text and dates, then you can upload this After Effects file without anything else. But if you used other sources like images or I use my Illustrator, you are going to have to upload those files as well. So I'm going to go over a couple different ways of doing that. So if I look in my folder, you can see I have my storyboard AI file and my storyboard JPEG. Then I have my After Effects file, and I have this footage that I use here, my self-portrait. I use example. You might also have images and stuff like that. You can see that the self-portrait is not actually part of the After Effects file. The After Effects file is only 500 kilobytes, whereas the self-portrait is 2,000 kilobytes. So we know that that information is not contained within the After Effects. So one thing I can do is just upload all of these files separately. That is going to, mean you have to click on stuff more, but that is perfectly fine. So actually, let's write my submission first, because all you're going to do for the submission is paste in your link to your Open Lab post. So I'm done there. Now I'm going to go to Browse Attach Files. So I'll go to Browse Local Files. I'll go to Desktop, MMP 100, Animated Motions. And so now you're going to have to include any file that is part of the animation, unlike Photoshop and Audacity. Those Photoshop and Audacity actually keep the data from your external files in that file project, so you can just send the whole file itself. But After Effects does not do that. So if we have other footage, we need to make sure to include that footage. So I'm going to select my After Effects file, and then I'm going to hold Control and select my self-portrait file, and I'm going to upload those at the same time. And so then if I click Submit, it's going to upload those. And so there we go. So you can see I have my AEP file and my Illustrator file as footage. And if you do it like that, I'm going to know that you need that's an external file that needs to be at the After Effects. But if you have a ton of files and you don't want to upload them all, this is probably not the case for most people. But if you have a lot of extra files, I'll just go You're still going to write the submission the same way, so I'm just going to here. But then you could zip your files together and upload one zip. So that's something that if you have a ton of files, that is very common to make sharing the file a little. So I'm do that. I'm going to go to my file explorer. I'm going to click on the files that I want to zip. I'm going to click on my .a file, and I'm going to hold Control, click on my self-portrait file. So I only want to select the files that I want to be part of this archive. And I'm going to right-click on here, and then I'm going to go to Send to, and then click Compressed Folder. So now I have a compressed archive, and so I can just upload that zip file by itself. Now I'm going to go back to Blackboard, browse local files, upload this zip, and now if I see a zip file, I'm going to know that all of your project files are in there. You may also want to upload your storyboard here. I posted my storyboard, so if you do that, you can put it in one place. But if you want to make sure, if you either didn't post it or you just want to make sure it's true, you can also upload your storyboard. The JPEG version of storyboard is fine. I don't need to see After Effects or the Illustrator version of that. So that's another way to do this. And then you can just click Submit, and you done. Okay, so that's it. That's how you submit the file. That's how you export your video and post everything. So I'm going to stop the video there. And then if you guys have questions, we